All right, all right, all right. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, brothers and sisters all over the world. Kakas and dadas and kakas all over the world. Brothers and sisters, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Habari za sabui, habari za mchana, habari za jioni. All right, I'm talking to each and every one of you all over the world. What'd you say?
Me too.
Me too. He said he's talking to you too. This is my boy. This is Thomas. And he'll be a man soon. So this is my little man. Okay, everybody, listen. The name of this channel is
Shikama.
Shikama. All right, that's his
Hi.
way of
Hi.
That's his respectful way in Tanzanian, in Swahili, of saying, and that's my little girl.
Hi, sisters, brothers all over the world, people, dadas, kakas, brothers and sisters all over the world.
Hey, all over the world, yeah.
Mans, women's, all over the world, shoppers, every shop all over the world.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's my
Stores.
Yeah, stores,
Dukani, and some TV stores.
Okay.
And everything. Azam Sport Club, Simba Yanga!
Yeah, very good. Simba. You like Simba?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And Simba and Yanga over the world.
Over the world. Yeah, so this is the name of this channel is The African Times. And the kids wanted to help me with the greetings, so they did a good job. You did a good job. Thank you, Joycelyn. All right, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Say bye-bye to the people.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah. Simba Younger, bye-bye. Thank you, Thomas, my man. All right, we're back. All right, everybody. Again, the name of this channel is The African Times, and I'm Thomas. We're going to talk quickly this little episode of The Rise and Shine. The Rise and Shine. It's early in the morning. I'm about to get out and go get it. Just had to stop and tell you a little bit about an entertainment story, an entertainment bit of information that has come across the airwaves. It appears our good brother Terrance Howard has announced he's retiring from making movies. I think it was on one of those entertainment shows. I looked it up in Google and saw that I think in the article he announced that he actually retired 2 years ago. But now I guess he's saying that he's going to make it official. I think he's doing one last project. I think it's The Best Man something in a series or something. Maybe they're going to keep going. But the reason I'm talking about it is, as I've told you before, entertainment is a part of the areas of people activity, things that we do culturally. And so what I'm interested in, why it's somewhat relevant to me, is what is the economic impact? Is there an economic impact for people that look like you and me? Not necessarily his decision as an individual to retire, but how does entertainment impact us, people that look like you and me, economically? So let's get into it. All right. First, our good brother, Terrance, announced his retirement. And if just briefly, in the article, he cites that he's retiring because he mentioned he talked to Sidney Poitier, and Sidney Poitier is an older actor who had won an Oscar for some work that he had done. And he cites that he had talked to Sidney, and he said he talked to Sidney 10 years ago, and Sidney was saying that why would he continue to spend the last 10 years of his life playing himself, imitating himself, or something to that degree. And I'm not really sure how that affects Terrance, but economically, let's look at the impact of a person who retires with his notoriety, and not necessarily him, but we're going to look at all of them. So I'm going to approach this from a somewhat different perspective. First, I'll give you a little foundational history. Okay, I worked in the entertainment industry for 13 years, and it wasn't film, although I did do a couple of smaller projects, extra work, bit parts with small lines, and then there was some talk about going forward doing larger projects. Now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my experience, and this is how it affects it economically. My primary work was in theater, meaning I traveled all over the United States, from theater to theater, city to city. And one of the things that I was able to discover, because I worked closely with these individuals, we had a promoter, a person who goes out and tells everybody about your show and that it's there, and you advertise it, make sure everyone knows so they can come. Well, at that time they called our shows truck and bus, or bus and truck, something like that. And then they called them. They said that we were on the Chitlin circuit, and that in and of itself suggests a racist perspective on what we were doing. It's no different. All the theater shows come on truck and bus. You take the truck, you go where you're going. You got the supplies, the set, the tools, everything you need to put the show together. It's on the truck. And then a bus carries some people, staff or what have you. They all do it. And if some of them don't do it because they're a big show, they got money, maybe they fly the people. But a plane is a big bus with wings, okay? It doesn't matter. It's just you going back and forth. Now, again, I told you economic, and I'm going to show you how this affects us economically. At that time, when I was traveling, one of our promoters, the financier of the show, the one who put all the money together to take us from city to city and pay for the hotels, to pay for the theater, to pay for the bus, to pay our salaries, to do these things, it was a brother who didn't look like me and you. W. It was a W. Now, I started out as just an actor, but as I grew and they recognized certain skill set that I had, I was promoted to become assistant director, and in many cases I was directing. But because the writer, was the boss, the writer, I didn't get director credit. I would just get assistant director or things like that, but I would actually be directing the show. And we had a meeting with this promoter, this W, and we were doing a scene. And in this scene, the promoter came to us and he said, well, look, I want to talk to you about this scene. There's something not right about this scene. And I was like, okay, no problem. What's the issue? And this brother went on to say that, well, it just doesn't feel right. Now, this scene was a street scene. This is what they called them back then, street scene. And in this scene, there was ladies who sold their services, their female services. And at this time, this is a show where we had sisters, and then there was one W in the show that she had been cast, and she was playing multiple roles. One of which was during the street scene. She was a lady selling her services like the other sisters on the street selling their services. So during this meeting, this brother, there's a little coffee here. During this meeting, this brother came to us and said, and speaking to me, that it just doesn't feel right. It's something not right about that scene. I was like, okay, well, what is it? No problem. We can take that input and make the necessary changes. No problem at all. And he said, well, it's that woman. She doesn't fit the scene. And he didn't say which woman. And so I was up there looking. I'm like, okay, well, which woman? Which one? Because for me, the ladies of the night, ladies, just a group of them, depict society. Those ladies come in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. So he said, well, it's that one. And then he pointed out what outfit she was in. And obviously it was the W girl. And so I was like, okay, it doesn't fit right. What is she not performing well? Is it something you want her to be doing? And he was like, well, no, she just doesn't fit the scene. I think she kind of takes away from the scene. I don't think she should be in that scene because it's not, it doesn't fit. And so then I knew what he was saying. He didn't want that W girl up there in that role. He wanted only the sisters up there in that role. Now, again, I'm talking economics. It may seem that like it's not, because they're very sophisticated in what they do. Now, I'm going to get to the economic points, but I want you to show that's one example. Here's a W brother. He had the money to finance the show so he could call the shots. We had to take that girl off the stage if he wanted to keep the show going. And I removed her. Of course, with the permission of the writer. Now, that's one example. Now, here's a personal example. That's personal, kind of indirectly. Now, here's my personal experience. My first national tour that I got as an actor, I got the lead role in this show, and this was back in, late '80s, I think. Yeah, early '90s, 91, 90, 91, 92, something like that. So I got this role, and this was this particular writer's second play. His national tour is very successful. His first one was very successful. So when I got this role, I was new. I was young and I was new, and I auditioned and I was selected to play the lead. The role was a boy, a young man who was basically, the story went out, church boy who had turned to the streets and started selling drugs. Okay. Now, remember, I'm talking economics. Now, I'm telling you, two things come to mind. I'm an older person. I have many years of life experience watching these things develop. This is, I told you, late 80s, early 90s. And I played the role of a drug dealer, basically. Good kid gone bad. This was what they called back then a gospel musical. So when I left, I told you they saw a certain skill set and they started promoting me. That was my first role. But all of the plays of that time began to duplicate that. Over and over and over and over again. Play after play after play after play. The whole thing was, drug dealer, and there was even a formula. They even had some when you looked it up, they even had a format of how to write the story. And the story was basically black kid, person looks like me and you, doing good. Then all of a sudden they get introduced to the streets, and then they become, captivated with the streets and unable to leave the streets. And then they start selling dope, and then somebody gets shot and killed, and then at the end somebody says it's the wrong way to go, and it's usually the preacher coming to tell you, hey, you need to turn to God, and then you ask God to help you, and after God helps you, then you find your way back to the church. Now there are two themes there. You have to be very careful. And I told you we're talking economics, so I'm not talking entertainment as just entertainment for fun. No, I'm talking economics right now. So what? You have two themes. You have an individual who supposedly was good, and then he starts what? Selling drugs. Then after he sells drugs, he goes back to the church, to God. And then after somebody dies with guns, violence, and street scenes and all that, then after that, you find your way back to God. Okay? All right. So this is what I did. And then after I got promoted and I went behind the scenes and started doing directing and things like that, every project that came to me had to have the same exact story. For the most part. Some people going bad, then they got to go to church, then you got to have the preacher, then somebody got to die, you have a casket scene. It got to the point to where even the audience knew that was going to happen. Every time we go to a show, they knew. And I would ask them. Now, remember, I'm talking economics, and I'm going to get to that. Hold on. So, when you tour, we would go to different high schools all over the, the country. And so, me being the type of person I am, I started taking a survey. So, I would go before these auditoriums filled with children. I would ask them, what kind of writer do you want to be? What kind of actor do you want to be? For those of you who are interested in that work. And so then they would all tell me, but raising a hand, without exception, that they want to write about the plight of the black man, and they want to write about, the streets and the drugs. Okay? Now, if you can't see that and you can't understand that, there's a kind of a little story that people talk about. Is art imitating life, or is life imitating art? It's both. It's both. But when you are in control of the media, and you hear these terms, control of the narrative, when you're in control of that, then one begins to dominate the other. In other words, you can manipulate it to the point to where, since you're in control of the art, you're in control of what the people see, what the people hear, then the people will start to become created human beings that imitate the images and follow the images that you set for them. You understand? And this is what is happening now. How does that affect us economically? Terrance was an actor. He became famous. This is not a knock on him. He's a victim of it, just like me and you, just like all of our children. But so Terrance received great notoriety for playing the role of Hustle and Flow. Okay. Right, Hustle and Flow, a pimp. I just read this in Google. I didn't see the movie, but in the Google they say it was a pimp who was trying to turn his life around. Now, you remember what I just told you? Pimp, drug dealer, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. And you can prove it's the same. Back in the 70s, I told you about the late 80s, early 90s, but go back to the 70s. They called them black exploitation films. And everybody was a pimp, and you had the prostitutes, and you had this, and you had that. This is what they had. And it's film after film. Rudy Ray Moore and all of this. Film after film after film after film. And then when you looked around in the neighborhoods, people were trying to wear the styles and fashions that they saw on the screen. They were pimps and, trying, all of that. They were trying to, you know, trying to be pimps, and then they introduced the drugs. Back then it wasn't crack, it was heroin and some other thing, people shooting things in their arms and everything, and the stories were about getting richer off of drugs. And then in the 80s and the 90s it repeated, but with crack. Now remember, I'm talking to you economically, you see. So when you see an actor say, okay, I'm retiring, why are you retiring? Which is probably a good thing, but there's some benefits that can come economically as a result of him retiring. Not him as an individual. He made his money. He's fine. And to be fair to him, I think this I didn't see. I didn't look at the thing, but I was watching another video where they talked about it, and this other video, a good brother named Willie D. You can check him out. Look him up on Google. He talked a little bit about it and said that one of the things Terrance cited was that in Hollywood, the roles for men being somewhat, and this is me talking now, not him, but in my understanding of what he was trying to communicate, he was saying that these roles of men are being watered down. Men are somewhat being no longer strong masculine men, but being made to be feminine. Now, remember I just told you, if you're in control of those images, then you can develop them in such a way that you you create individuals to follow along with the images that you see on the screen, or the words you hear in the music, and then the people start to imitate that. And this is not me making this up. This is a fact. We all went through it. That is the socialization process. There are many aspects to it. And again, I'm still talking economics. If you control that, I know for me, when I grew up, Michael Jackson was the thing, and he had the little Jerry curl, and everybody had Jerry curls. Now remember, I'm talking economically. So let me give you an example. I'm going to transition to the economics now to give you an example. If Michael Jackson or whoever, it could be celebrities now, Beyonce, Denzel, Terrance, whoever, if those individuals look a certain way, act a certain way, are presented in a certain way with their clothes, their fashion, whatever, and they do this with the celebrities in all areas of the media, sports, music, television, movies, it doesn't matter. When you see them in that attire or with that hairstyle, like for Michael Jackson's Jerry curl, so everybody had Jerry curls. Economically, what does that mean? If you make the product, the Jerry curl product, you're selling hundreds of millions of dollars of that product because people are following that individual. And notice I said following, just like now on social media. You following me? You following. And so then you get a bunch of people imitating. I had a Jerry curl just like that. And then before that, from the 70s, I had to press and curl. You take a hot comb, you burn your hair out, trying to get it straight like the W's. And men were doing that. Back in the 60s, the 50s, the 40s, the 30s, men had conks. If you look at Malcolm X's, you read his biography, you look at the movie Denzel played or whatever, the autobiography of him, and you see the conk. They straighten your hair, but that's product being sold. That's economic. That means someone is benefiting financially from that product that has been introduced to you, that you have been persuaded through advertisement. In this case, is negative propaganda coming from W's to benefit them financially, while you run around thinking that you're being free to choose a lifestyle, to choose a particular style of hair, a particular style of fashion. And you think that you chose that on your own. You didn't choose that. You didn't choose it. It wasn't free will, because the conditions were set for you to make the choice that they wanted you to make. They could have put everybody up with afros. They were doing that at a point. But when back in the 60s people, black power. People were aware of themselves. People were coming into their existence and going, I'm proud of myself. James Brown did a song. James Brown was famous. He was Michael Jackson before Michael Jackson. James Brown did a song, I'm black and I'm proud. So people were, black people like me and you, they were coming to themselves. So they had to change that. And that's again, life imitating art, or art imitating life. They put out images through song, television, media, movies, magazines, all of it, in all forms. And then they put out a different look, a different style. And then what? They made sure that when they put that out, it wasn't only a social impact, but it had an economic benefit for them, because they manufactured all the products. They had the means of distribution. They had the stores, the warehouse. You put it in their stores. What, you coming in there to buy the product from them? Do you understand? So this is the economic impact. So when we talk about Terrance, first, before I do that, let me tell you one of the stories, because Terrance had his reasons for getting out. He talked about the feminization. And there was another brother who talked about that. Michael Douglas, he talked about the removal of the masculine male in the industry. He mentioned it some years back. So my personal experience, I told you. I'm going to tell you again. I mentioned it because some of you may not have seen the video. I went to Hollywood. I think I was on the cusp of about being able to break that plateau from commercials. They usually start you out kind of in commercials sometimes, but I was on the cusp of getting ready to start getting major film roles, small roles, but in major films. Okay, and I was in this acting school in Hollywood, and this W dude who's very famous, um, very big guy, producer type guy, not actor or nothing like that, but money man. They had come to me during one of the sessions. He saw me act a scene, and at the end of the scene, at the end of the class, the acting class, they had called me up and they talked to me a little bit. And so one of the guys that was there with me, who was with the brother, pulled me off to the side, and he said, "Look, man, you can have roles. At that time, I was young. He's like, you could be Denzel's little brother. You could, be in those kind of movies. Those things will come for you." Then I just got in a regional commercial with Bell. I think Bell Telephones or something. This way back. And he said, well, the brother was talking to me. He said, so listen, you gonna need to, what you gotta do, you gotta go to this restaurant. And when you go to this restaurant, there's gonna be a guy there. There's gonna be a guy, a brother. Not a brother like me, one who don't look like me. He said he's gonna be there, and he's gonna want to, you know, he gonna wanna, have relations with you. You don't have to do anything. He just wants to, um, like if you were going and you've given a kid a lollipop, and the kid, so you gonna have your lollipop. He gonna want your lollipop. Now, you understand what I'm telling you. Now, the guy told me, so listen, you just close your eyes, man, and just let him do what he's gonna do, and you could even, pretend it's a woman. Just let him do what he's gonna do, and then, the roles they're gonna come. You understand what I just told you? Now, for me, no, no, no. No, 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 no. Not for me. It's not for me. Okay? Not for me. So, needless to say, not for me. I said, nah. Nah, no thanks. I'm not doing that. Now, I'm telling you that story because remember what I told you. Those people who control those images, they also control the action behind those images. And they have an agenda. They want to promote a certain thing. Now, how does that affect us economically? All right. If you agree, like in the case of Terrance and others, not to do what I talked about just then, but if you agree to wear the hairstyle, to wear the particular clothes, and doing things like, let's say you agree to wear dresses, then somebody's got to make those dresses. You agree to, you know, drink a particular product, then who's manufacturing that alcohol product? All right. Now, in the case, and here's where I tell you there's some positive to it. If the brother, Terrance, says he's not going to act anymore, and then later has a change of heart, like many of them do, they're retired and they come out of retirement and do something. Well, once you reach a certain stage of notoriety, you have some power. You can organize yourself with some of the independent brothers who make films, brothers and sisters who make films, records, magazines, what have you. And since you're a recognizable personality to the people of the world, then you can begin your own production company in such a way that benefits who? People that look like me and you. Because it's an economic product. It's not just art. No, it's an economic product. One of the biggest export businesses in the world is the export of entertainment, television, movies, music. So if a brother like Terrance and some of the many others who have an African consciousness, an African mind, an understanding of what their responsibility is to their people and their society, then they can use that notoriety that they have and then transition to the economic benefit for us, the development of us large scale entertainment conglomerates. You can do that. Okay? So it doesn't have to only be just I'm retiring and I'm separating out of the entertainment business. No, you can transition that. You can take a break if you got to get away from it because I believe if you're not careful, you do something, those people, they'll take your life. Yeah, they'll take your life if they feel that you harmed them. And let me give you an example. You know, you may not, I'm not getting into conspiracy. I don't have time for all that because everything is clear. If you want to make it up, you want to call. There's some videos floating around, and I've seen them, where Michael Jackson tells the people, Sony never thought that I would out. This is Michael talking, not me. He's on stage talking to some people, said they always thought that he's only thinking of music, but and he normally he does only think of music, but they never thought he would outthink them. And he said he generated billions, several $1 billion for Sony, but now I don't know if he said he owns half of Sony now or whatever. Okay, economics now. Then all of a sudden he disappears, and when I mean disappears, he's not with us anymore. He's not at an older age where he can now take, as if he can't dance now, he can now say, well, okay, I'm not in front of the camera on the stage now, but I'm going to now take this notoriety that I have and maybe develop my own entertainment distribution conglomerate. Can you imagine that? If Michael Jackson came into your neighborhood, said he's looking for people, people going to tear the walls down trying to get to him. You understand? So these are the economic components of what we're talking about. This is not just retiring and la-di-da-di-da, and life goes on. No, there are economic benefits and there's social impact of these benefits. If you something I just want to make clear finally before I end is that remember when you create the individual, you create in the individual desires so that the individual will desire a certain thing. And if that thing goes back to your ability to manufacture that thing, that's economic in all areas of people activity: shoes, clothes, hair, drinks, food. It doesn't even matter. And don't you know it can even be, give you an example of it turned on itself. It don't even have to be an actual physical, tangible product. When you create a desire for a particular thing, like for example, we're just gonna say violence, right? But it's economics. Violence is economics. If you create a desire to watch movies that are violent, then now I manufacture what? Violent movies, and you're gonna what? Come to the theater, look at it on television. There's no product there. Not directly. You gotta buy the TV. But I'm saying the product is the visual, the film, the art. So now you're guiding people where? And then how does that have an impact on their personal behavior? If you show them violence and they like violence, they like drugs, and they idolize these individuals, then these individuals go out and they try to imitate what they see on TV, what they see in the magazines, on the radios, and all that. Then they commit crimes trying to do these things to live that lifestyle. And when they live that lifestyle, you come and you lock them up. Economics. Because now you build them prisons and you say they're private prisons so an individual can own them. The people in the prison, they got to sell you food. They got to make uniforms. They got to have the actual building of the prison. These are all economic activities, and who benefits from them? Because we don't build them. We don't have the contracts. People that look like me and you, we don't have the contracts to put all that stuff together. Do you understand? So it's a very sophisticated system. So when Brother Terrance and all the rest of them who are participating in that area, and notice I'm not saying that they did anything bad. That's not the point. Many of them, just like me and you, we have to work. Okay, your job pays you a lot of money and you do it. But the social and psychological impact of the various jobs are all a part of the system of racism, white supremacy, white domination, white oppression, capitalism. To maintain that system in such a way that there is an ongoing self-perpetuation of the system that keeps us entangled and ensnared in the system so that we can never dig our way out of it. And you need those social components, entertainment wise, so that the people's minds, their desires, their states of consciousness remain entangled in those things that you need them to be entangled in so that they can't pull themselves out. And this is what is happening, and this is economic, because the people wake up one day and say they don't want to do this anymore and they don't like the way things are going. They have to have free mind to think about it, to concentrate on it. So they'll put plenty of stuff in front of you for you to talk about it that has nothing to do with what you really need to do to solve your problem. Okay. All right. I hope you guys understand. Again, uh, Terrance retiring, no problem, brother. Good. And if you can, um, people enjoy your work. They've watched you. Uh, there's a message to you. You go ahead, use uh, that opportunity to change the nature of the work. No more drugs. No more. Nah. You can do other things, other images. Create other images in the minds of the children. Images where they understand that they have to become scientists and have laboratories, become inventors of medicines and things, the things we used to do. We can become great scholars in education to educate our people to solve our problems as a society. Create that kind of desire for the people. Create in them an understanding, a desire to spread the news that we're all one people, a one Africa policy, worldwide. Create in them a love for one another so that when they see their fellow brother and sister, they have nothing but love and a desire to help their brother and sister in any way, to work together with their brother and sister without any any reason for, that would prevent us from unifying. Help in those ways. I can write the scripts. I know how to do that. That's not a problem. If you need those, hey, I can do that. And I'm not asking for the job to do that. I'm simply telling you that there are many, many people out here who have to be taught. The desire has to be placed there. And those of us who know it, we have to do it because the other people, they don't know. They've been victimized like you and me into these other things. So that it's not in their consciousness. It's not in their mind. They don't even understand what's happening to them. Okay? All right, so again, it's the economic benefit to it. And we have to push for that. We have to push for that. And all these different areas of people activity that come together economically will allow us to provide the jobs and the lifestyles for our people instead of leaving that in the hands of some other people who uh, don't have your best interest at heart. Okay? All right, so I hope you guys understand. Again, Terrance, congratulations. I hope life for you in retirement is really good. Um, if you can, help other black people, and appreciate you. And to all of you out there, thanks for watching. Oh, by the way, do me a favor. I got to start doing this. I need this. It's very important. I need you to hit that subscribe button. I need you to like, and I need you to share these videos with as many people as you can. We'll be doing them from time to time. And I'm going to start hitting other subjects. I told you this a while ago. I just got kind of tied up in the everyday struggle for survival. And we're all doing it. We're under this capitalist system. So, uh, yeah, so, okay. I love you all. Uhuru. Uhuru. Uhuru.